We see a lot of frontal boundaries that move across the nation as the weather impacts different areas, but what exactly happens with these frontal boundaries that move through? So I'm going to talk about the two that we usually see the most here in the Tennessee Valley, and that is cold fronts and warm fronts. These two are usually the ones that impact our weather the most here in the Tennessee Valley, so let's just go ahead and dive right into cold fronts. So what exactly is a cold front? A cold front is when we have warm air that moves over the colder air. The colder air is more dense than the warm air, and that's where we get that steep frontal slope. So cold front going to move over that warm air. So then back behind the cold front that you see right here, that's where we're going to get a wind direction change. So behind the cold front is where we typically have the northerly surface winds, and ahead of the cold front is where we usually see the southerly surface winds. So we have that clash in warm air and cold air. So what exactly does that mean in terms of impacting our weather? So like I mentioned earlier, we've got that steep frontal slope with the colder air back behind it. We'll usually see some type of storm development out ahead of that cold front as the cold front clashes with the warmer air. So we've got rising air that's along that cold front, and it's typically going to allow for storms to develop out ahead of a cold front due to the clashing of those two different types of air masses. So let's talk about the difference in warm fronts. So warm fronts, that is usually when we have the warmer air clashing with the colder air. So basically it's kind of reverse from the cold front, but we still see impactful weather with it. We don't have a downward slope. We have a gradual frontal slope that's associated with the warm front that's going to move through. This is where you're going to see the colder air that's going to be more dense over the warmer air. So that's the difference between the two. So the wind direction is going to be changing along the frontal boundary. Ahead of the front is typically where we see the easterly surface winds, and that's going to bring different types of weather that's associated with it. We usually don't see severe weather that moves through with these warm fronts. So we have that overrunning air. Some of these warm fronts, they do cause temperature inversions. Some warm fronts will also aid in the development of winter precipitation, and some warm fronts will also aid in elevated storms that we typically see. So usually when we see severe weather here in the Tennessee Valley, they're going to be mostly associated with cold fronts. So that is the difference between cold fronts and warm fronts.